13 bells, one too many. Miss Marple stopped at the gate. Lady Bantry stood beside her. They looked at the cottage. Bells chimed faintly inside. Lady Bantry frowned. 13 cats. Imagine the trouble. Miss Marple nodded, her eyes sharp, her mind already measuring. The door opened. Mrs. Mercyvale appeared. Grey hair, precise, apron spotless, smile polite. "Do come in," she said. Inside, the bells rang again. Each note different. Each cat accounted for. Mrs. Vale lifted her chin. "I never lose track. Not one." Lady Bantry tried to sound kind. "Must be hard. All alone." Mrs. Vale's eyes flicked. "Not alone. They keep me company." Miss Marple sat quietly, her gaze steady. She noticed every movement. The way Mrs. Vale's hands lingered, the way her eyes darted to the window. Footsteps outside. A sharp knock. Mrs. Vale stiffened. That will be Gavin. The nephew entered. Thin, restless, eyes unsettled. He barely greeted them. "Aunt, we must speak." His voice edged. "It cannot go on. This nonsense with the animals. People are talking." Mrs. Vale said nothing. Her lips pressed. Gavin's words rose. "You leave money to an animal hospital while I scrape for rent. It isn't right. I am family. Your only family." Miss Marple studied him. Shoes polished but old. Jacket repaired with care. Pride and poverty clashed in him. Mrs. Vale's tone cut low. "My money is mine. My decision is made." Silence heavy. Only the bells stirred it. Another knock broke in. The door opened again. Dr. Hugh Cardew entered. Cheerful, steady, veterinary bag in hand. Mrs. Vale brightened. "Doctor, how good of you." He set down the bag. "Nothing serious. Only a check for Clover." Clover. A tortoiseshell cat slipped in. Bell chimed different from the rest. "Sharper. Off-key," Gavin muttered. "Even the vet benefits more than me." Cardew ignored him, spoke softly to Mrs. Vale. "Routine care, all in order." Miss Marple leaned forward. She listened to the bells again. One note wrong, one tone off. Her eyes rested on Clover. The collar fresh. The bell, too new. Lady Bantry whispered, "They all sound alike to me." Miss Marple shook her head. "Not alike. One is not the same." Clover flicked her tail. Bell rang again. Distinct. Discordant. Miss Marple's eyes narrowed. 13 bells, she said slowly, her voice low. One too many. She looked at Mrs. Vale, at Gavin, at Dr. Cardew, her mind weighing them. Inside her, a thought pressed. When one note does not belong, the harmony is broken. And broken harmony always hides something deeper. Miss Marple fixed her gaze on Clover's bell. Something was wrong. Family versus charity. Gavin stood tense, his eyes fixed on his aunt. "You cannot mean it," he said. "You cannot leave money to cats." Mrs. Vale's lips tightened, her voice steady. "I can. I will. My mind is made." Lady Bantry shifted uncomfortably. Miss Marple stayed silent. Her eyes watched Gavin's hands, trembling, clenched. Gavin stepped closer. "Aunt, I am your nephew. Blood, the last of our family. You owe me that much." Mrs. Vale lifted her chin. "I owe nothing, not even to you." Gavin's face flushed, his breath sharp. "You shame me in front of strangers." Mrs. Vale's tone hardened. "It is my house. My decision. Do not question it again." The bells chimed softly in the hall. One, then another. The cats moving. Routine unbroken. Gavin struck the table with his hand. "This is madness. You waste your life on animals. You plan to waste your fortune too." Cardew raised his voice now. "Enough, Gavin. Your aunt is free to choose. Her kindness should not be mocked." Gavin turned on him. "You, always here, always encouraging her. I know why. You gain more than I ever will. Cardew stayed calm. My concern is her welfare. And her animals. That is, all. Miss Marple's eyes flicked to Mrs. Vale. Her hand trembled slightly. Not from fear. From strain. Gavin saw it too. He breathed sharply, then pushed back his chair. Do as you like. But remember, I will not be silent forever. He stormed out. The door slammed. The bells jangled in protest. Cardew bent forward. Do not let him upset you. Your wishes are yours, alone. Mrs. Vale tried to smile, but her shoulders sagged. She whispered, He is my sister's boy. Blood is still blood. Cardew shook his head. Blood does not always mean loyalty. You are right to give where it helps. The back door creaked. Dorcas Finch entered with a basket. Groceries folded neatly. She wiped her hands. Argument again? Mrs. Vale sighed. You heard. Dorcas set down the basket. Best not to fret. Dinner will calm you. She moved to the dresser. 13 saucers lined in a row, each one numbered, each one exact. Dorcas tapped them. 1 to 13. Cats know their places. No confusion. Never. Miss Marple leaned forward, her eyes scanning, her ears sharp. Clover entered last, her steps hesitant. She paused before saucer 7, then shifted to 13. Her bell clashed again. Dorcas frowned. She is still unsettled, different from the others. Miss Marple nodded slowly, her thoughts ticking. Different habits, different tone. Something not right. The doorbell rang. A letter delivered. Mrs. Vale read quickly, her face pale. She said softly, Mr. Pratt will call tomorrow to discuss the will. Miss Marple watched her carefully. The words fell heavy. Inheritance sharpened every edge. The room fell silent as Mrs. Vale repeated, Tomorrow, the solicitor comes. A locked room meeting. The afternoon came. The blue parlour was prepared. Mrs. Vale wore her black dress. Her hands touched the key. She unlocked the door. Mr. Pratt arrived. Solicitor. Precise. Cautious. His case carried under his arm. He bowed slightly. Mrs. Vale, shall we proceed? She nodded. Come inside. Everything is ready. Miss Marple and Lady Bantry followed to the sitting room. They stopped there. Mrs. Vale turned to them. Please wait. This will not take long. The blue parlour door closed. The lock clicked. Silence pressed in. Inside, voices low, papers rustled, pens scratched. Miss Marple leaned her head slightly. She listened. Pratt spoke evenly. We must ensure the codicil is clear. Mrs. Vale answered softly. Yes, the hospital must not be contested. Lady Bantry sighed, her hands restless in her lap. Such business. I dislike wills. Miss Marple nodded faintly. Her eyes never left the door. Something inside her stirred. Minutes passed. A pause. Then sudden cry. Sharp. Urgent. Help! Help! The voice was Mrs. Vale's. Mr. Pratt, something is wrong. Lady Bantry leapt up. Jane! She is calling us. Miss Marple rose quickly. They rushed to the door. The handle turned. It would not move. Locked. Mrs. Vale cried again. The door, it will not open. Please, hurry. Miss Marple pressed her voice steady. Turn the key from inside, Mrs. Vale. I cannot. It will not turn. Oh, please, quickly. Footsteps came from the kitchen. Dorcas Finch appeared, alarmed. What is happening? Miss Marple's face firm. Fetch something heavy. We must force the door. Slack steps sounded on gravel outside. No inspector yet. Only neighbours passing. Too late for them. Dorcas hurried back with an iron bar. Together they pushed. The lock resisted. Then it gave way. The door swung open. The scene struck them at once. Pratt lay on the carpet. Head turned at an unnatural angle. The brass doorstop toppled nearby. Dark stain spreading beneath. Mrs. Vale stood trembling, her face pale. Her hands shook. I left for salts. Only a moment. When I came back, this. Lady Bantry gasped. Her hand pressed to her chest. Good heavens. Miss Marple knelt slowly. She touched Pratt's wrist. No pulse. Her head bowed for a breath. Then she looked up. This is no seizure. No faint. Her voice even. Something here does not fit. Mrs. Vale clutched the table. Her eyes filled. He was only helping me. And now he is gone. In my house, Lady Bantry whispered. An accident. Surely. Miss Marple's eyes stayed on the fallen brass. The weight of it. The position of the papers. The locked door. Her voice quiet, almost to herself. Accidents leave no riddles. This one leaves many. She looked at Pratt's body and the doorstop, and thought, someone had made sure he would never leave this room. An accident, or not. Inspector Slack entered first, his hat in hand, his boots heavy on the floor. He nodded once. Where is the body? Mrs. Vale pointed. Her hand shook. In there, the parlour. Slack walked inside. He crouched over Pratt, his eyes narrowed. Blow to the head. Heavy enough. Dr. Haydock stood nearby. He cleared his throat. Seizure, perhaps, then fall. The brass piece struck as he went down. Slack tapped the door, locked from inside, bolt firm. He tugged the window, shut, latched. He looked at Miss Marple. Not much to question here. Miss Marple's eyes did not blink. She glanced at the table. She noted a saucer. Milk half full, film on top. Her voice mild. Strange place for a saucer, Mrs. Vale murmured. For the cats. One sometimes slips inside. Slack grunted. Harmless enough. Dr. Haydock bent lower. The mark on his head fits the fall, but I will confirm later. Miss Marple leaned closer to the saucer. Beside it lay a small muslin pouch. She touched it lightly. A sweet scent rose, clinging, strong. Mrs. Finch gasped. Oh, that is one of Dr. Cardew's flea sachets. He says they keep cushions safe. Slack sniffed it. His nose wrinkled. Unpleasant. Cats do not mind. Quite the opposite, Dorcas said. They love it. Some roll about like kittens. As if summoned, Clover slipped in. Her collar bell gave its off note. She padded straight to the pouch. Her body twisted, purring loud, her eyes glazed. Miss Marple's lips pressed thin. She whispered, intoxicated, not frightened. Slack frowned. Cat's play, that is all. Marple shook her head. Not all, not this way. Clover rubbed harder against the table. She ignored the milk entirely. Her paws clawed for the pouch. The scent filled the air. Slack waved it off. Enough of cats. The matter is plain. The man collapsed. His head struck the brass. Door locked. Window fastened. No intruder. A closed case. Miss Marple spoke softly, her eyes on Pratt. Closed rooms do not always mean closed truths. Slack turned on her. You think otherwise? She did not answer directly. Her gaze went back to Clover. The bell, the pouch, the untouched saucer. Small things, quiet things. Mrs. Vale clutched her apron. Her voice cracked. It was sudden. Too sudden. He was fine. Then gone. Dr. Haydock sighed. Shock is cruel, madam. That is all. Lady Bantry patted Mrs. Vale's arm, her voice low. We must accept what cannot be changed. Miss Marple kept still, her face unreadable, but inside her, the pieces would not settle. Slack stood tall. It was an accident, he declared. Miss Marple shook her head. One note never fits. Evening feeding began. Mrs. Finch placed saucers, 13 in a row, each dish marked, numbers clear. The cats gathered. Bells chimed one by one. Distinct tones, soft harmony, routine unbroken. Miss Marple stood back, her eyes sharp, her ears sharper. She counted the notes. One tone jarred. Clover's bell rang late. Different, unsteady, not part of the set. Mrs. Vale smiled faintly. They know their places, always. Dorcas nodded. Every cat goes to the same saucer. They never fail. Miss Marple watched, her gaze fixed on Clover. The tortoiseshell hesitated. She stepped to one saucer, then shifted to another. Marple leaned forward. That one moved. Dorcas frowned. She does it often, still settling. Marple bent low. She touched the saucer. Number 13. Pencil strokes faint beneath, erased and written again. Her eyes lingered. "Recently altered," she said quietly. Mrs. Vale's voice defensive. Clover upset the order. We adjusted. Only that. Dorcas added quickly. Dr. Cardew brought her things. Spare collar. Spare bell. Even a saucer. Said it was best. Miss Marple looked at Dorcas. He brought them himself? Yes, Dorcas said firmly. Different tones. He said each cat must have its note. Clover's bell was replaced. Others matched long ago. The bells sounded again. Clover's note struck odd, high, sharp, intrusive. The other cats looked round. Even they seemed disturbed. Lady Bantry whispered, uneasy. I cannot hear the difference. Miss Marple turned to her. You do not listen as I do. One note stands apart. One does not belong. Mrs. Vale clasped her apron. He meant well. Dr. Cardew always means well. Miss Marple said nothing. Her eyes returned to Clover. The collar was newer, the leather fresh, not worn like the others. Clover licked at her dish, then stopped. Her bell chimed again, louder, off-key. Marple's lips pressed thin, her voice a whisper. Someone planted her. The words fell heavy. Lady Bantry blinked. Planted? What do you mean? Marple did not answer. She only looked at Clover. The strange bell, the new collar, the renumbered saucer. Mrs. Vale's hands trembled. Her voice low. She is still one of mine. She belongs here. Dorcas shook her head. She unsettles the others. They notice. I notice. But Mrs. Vale cannot send her away. The bells rang once more. 12 true, 1 false. Marple's eyes softened for a moment. Her thought unspoken. Harmony once broken cannot be easily restored. Her whisper carried in the room. Someone planted her. Paper never lies. The solicitor's desk was cleared. Papers stacked neatly. Pratt's case opened. Documents spread. Inspector Slack leaned over. Routine work, nothing more. Lady Bantry picked at a page. Contracts, receipts, dry stuff. Miss Marple stayed still. Her hand moved slowly. She drew out a folded card. White, narrow, plain. Slack frowned. What is that? Marple opened it. Her eyes scanned the words. Her lips pressed thin. Inside was no greeting, no signature, only one line. Not all cats are counted. The room fell quiet. Lady Bantry whispered, A condolence card? Why would Pratt keep this? Mrs. Vale clutched the arm of her chair, her face pale. Who sent it? What does it mean? Slack took the card. He read it aloud, then tossed it back. Childish scribble, of no use. Marple shook her head. Paper does not lie. Someone meant him to read this. Dorcas Finch looked uneasy. She wrung her hands. I never saw that before. Never. Dr. Haydock shrugged. Perhaps he mislaid it here. It need not concern us. But Marple's eyes stayed on the words. Not all cats are counted. Her gaze shifted to Clover. The cat crouched by the hearth. Bell chiming off-key. Collar still too new. Marple bent lower. She studied the leather strap. Unmarked. Untarnished. Unlike the others. Worn smooth. Slack muttered, You waste time on animals. He gathered the rest of the papers. His death is solved. No puzzle remains. But Marple whispered to herself. Someone sent him a warning. Someone tied it to the cats. Lady Bantry leaned closer. Jane, do you think it points to Clover? Marple answered slowly. It points to one not meant to be here, a false note. A false place. Mrs. Vale spoke sharply. Clover belongs to me. She is mine. Dr. Cardew gave her in kindness, Dorcas added, more softly. Still, she unsettles the others, always the last to feed, always restless. Marple folded the card again. She slipped it back among the papers, her hands steady, her eyes unsettled. Slack snapped his notebook shut. Enough. The man died of accident. The rest is noise. Marple did not argue. She sat back, her eyes thoughtful, her heart uneasy. The card remained, its words plain, unshaken. Not all cats are counted. A truth written once, a truth that would not leave her. She felt it pressing, as if Pratt himself had tried to speak before silence took him. Marple looked again at Clover's collar and thought, who left the card in Pratt's files? A boy's tale spreads. The village stirred. Rumours moved faster than sense. By evening, Slack returned. He carried a boy by the arm. "Speak up," Slack ordered. This lad saw what matters. The errand boy shifted nervously. He clutched his cap. "I saw someone, by the window, slipping inside." Slack leaned forward. "Who?" "Tell them who." The boy swallowed. "Mr. Gavin. I swear it. I know his coat. Dark brown, too short in the sleeves. I saw it." Mrs. Vale gasped. "My nephew. Impossible." Lady Bantry whispered. "So soon after the quarrel." Slack snapped his notebook open. "Motive clear," he argued. He returned. He struck Pratt. Simple. Miss Marple stayed silent, her eyes on the boy. His hands fidgeted. His story came too quickly, too smooth. "Where were you standing?" she asked gently. The boy pointed vaguely. "Near the hedge. I was delivering a parcel. I saw him through the glass." Marple nodded slowly. "And what time?" He hesitated. "Afternoon, when the clock struck 3, or maybe 1/2 past. Yes, 1/2 past. Marple's head tilted, her eyes narrowed. At 1/2 past, she and Lady Bantry had been outside the very door. No figure had passed the hedge. No one slipped in, but she did not contradict him aloud. Not yet. Slack clapped his hands together. "There we have it. The quarrel, the entry, the death. He did it." Mrs. Vale shook her head violently. "He is foolish, angry, but not a killer," Lady Bantry murmured. "Still, the timing. It looks bad." Slack turned brisk. "I'll fetch him in for questioning. Let him deny it if he dares." Miss Marple looked at the boy again, her voice soft. "You are sure? You will not change this later?" The boy faltered. His eyes dropped. He mumbled, "It was quick. I only saw the back. Coat too short. Could be him. Must be him." Slack barked. "Enough. The witness is clear." But Marple did not agree. Her thoughts pressed inward. Why mention the sleeves? Why stress the color? Details rehearsed, not remembered. Later that evening, the boy's father came. He looked embarrassed. "My son has spoken too much." He admits now it was not Mr. Gavin. He saw another man, taller, coat lighter. He was frightened to say. He thought he would be scolded. Slack's face reddened. "You mean he lied?" The father nodded grimly. "Not lied. Mistook. But his tale grew larger each time." Miss Marple's eyes softened. False trails often do. They grow fast. They choke the truth. Mrs. Vale sank in her chair, relief mixed with fear. Her nephew spared, yet suspicion still in the air. The boy whispered at last, "It wasn't Mr. Gavin. It was someone else." "Oil locks what hands cannot." Miss Marple asked for a tin. Lady Bantry looked puzzled. "You mean sardines?" "Yes," Marple replied. "Bring a cat as well." Dorcas fetched one. A ginger Tom. Collar old. Bell steady. Inspector Slack folded his arms. "This is foolishness. We waste time." Marple ignored him. She dipped a finger in oil. She smeared it lightly across the window latch. The Tom sniffed. His nose twitched. He licked. He licked again. His tongue pressed at the metal. The latch moved. Lady Bantry gasped. It shifted. Marple nodded calmly. The tom licked once more. The latch clicked. It dropped into place. The window was locked. No hand had touched it. Slack stepped forward. He tugged at the catch. It was firm. He tugged harder. It held. He stared at Marple. "How did you think of this?" She answered evenly. "Observation. Cats do not waste milk. They chase smell. They lick. Someone used that habit." Dorcas covered her mouth. "You mean the window that day?" Marple nodded. "Could be fastened after entry. No intruder remained inside. No need for keys." Lady Bantry shivered. "It means the room was not sealed at all." Slack muttered. "Trickery. Childish trickery." Marple looked at him steadily. "It explains what you could not." The locked room was no puzzle. It was arranged. Slack rubbed his jaw. "You think Pratt was struck, then the window latched by a cat, with sardine oil. Is that it?" "Yes." Her voice quiet. "That is what I think." Dr. Haydock frowned. "It sounds absurd. And yet, the latch, I saw it myself. It was firm. Too firm. That puzzled me." Marple replied softly. "Absurd often hides truth. Only we must be patient to see it." Slack paced once across the floor. He scowled at Clover. The cat twitched her tail. Her bell clashed again. "Always the animals," Slack grumbled. "You give them too much power." Marple's eyes sharpened. "They are innocent. They act as they are made. It is men who twist their habits for darker use." "Mrs." Vale sat silent, her face pale. Her hand clutched the arm of her chair. "He was struck here, in my parlour. I cannot bear it." Marple's tone softened. "Grief is heavy, but truth must be heavier. We cannot turn away." Lady Bantry leaned close. "Then it was murder, no doubt." "Yes, if the window trick works, murder is confirmed." Room fell quiet as Slack muttered, "If you are right, then someone in this house killed him. Dates never match." Miss Marple walked into Cardew's surgery. The room was plain, shelves lined with bottles, drawers half shut, papers stacked high. Dr. Cardew greeted her. Miss Marple, unexpected, his tone friendly, his eyes cautious. "I thought I might ask about Clover," she said. "Of course," he replied. "She is settling well, I hope?" Marple gave no answer. Her gaze swept the shelves. Rows of collars hung neatly, each fitted with a bell. She counted 12. One space, empty. Cardew followed her eyes. "Old stock. I keep spares." Marple nodded slowly. Her hand brushed the desk. Ledger open, ink blotched, lines neat until halfway, then smudged. She bent closer. The entries listed cats, dates of visits, treatments given. Clover's line caught her eye. Originally written the week before, altered to a later date. The ink darker, the hand less steady. Marple's voice quiet. "You adjusted her record." Cardew stiffened. "Only correcting an error. Nothing more." Marple tapped the page. "Errors usually strike through. Not rewritten." He smiled thinly. "You are sharp, Miss Marple, but clerks make mistakes." Marple let the matter drop. Her eyes moved to a basket near the wall. Inside, scraps of leather. She pulled one free, a discarded collar, bell attached. She shook it gently. The sound rang clear, soft, true, not harsh like Clover's. She turned it in her hand, edges worn smooth, used, not new. "Why discard this?" she asked. Cardew hesitated. "Old stock, weak stitching. I gave her a better one." Marple's eyes lifted. "To replace what already worked." He looked away. "Sometimes animals break things. I provide new." She set the collar down. Her fingers lingered on the bell. The note still echoed in her ears. A note that matched the rest. Not Clover's false tone. The silence stretched. Only the faint ticking of a clock broke it. Marple straightened slowly, her eyes steady, her tone measured, dates that do not match, a collar that did not fail. A bell replaced, though it rang true. Cardew forced a smile. You find puzzles where none exist. Perhaps you grow tired of village peace. Marple's expression softened, her voice almost kind. Peace does not need replacing. Only truth does. He laughed shortly. You doubt too much, Miss Marple. She held his gaze. Doubt often leads to safety. I will keep mine. She turned toward the door, her mind weighing each small thing. One bell missing, one ledger altered, one collar thrown aside. Her heart sank. Small signs, quiet signs. Always the most dangerous, she whispered to herself. Why replace a working bell with a false one? Death never comes alone. The night was late. Mrs. Vale rested in her room. Dorcas checked the lamp, then left her to sleep. An hour passed. A faint hiss filled the air. Mrs. Vale stirred. Her chest grew heavy, her breath thin. She reached for the bell pull, her hand weak. The bell rang faintly. Dorcas rushed back. The door opened. Dorcas smelled it at once. The gas lamp hissed, its valve wide open. She shouted in alarm. She pulled it shut. She flung the window wide, then ran to Mrs. Vale. The widow slumped against the pillows, her skin pale, her lips dry. Dorcas shook her. Madam, wake up. Mrs. Vale coughed. Her eyes opened slowly. I felt faint. What happened? Dorcas cried out. Someone tampered with the lamp. You could have died. Miss Marple was summoned. She examined the lamp. Her fingers touched the valve. It was smooth. No stiffness. Deliberately turned. Lady Bantry whispered. This was no accident. Dorcas's eyes narrowed. It must be Gavin. Who else would dare? He has the most to gain. Mrs. Vale shook her head weakly. My sister's boy? No. Slack arrived moments later. He inspected the lamp, his voice sharp. Sabotage. Clear enough. And Gavin was seen near the lane tonight. A witness says so. Gavin was brought in, his face pale, his eyes wide. I was not here. I was teaching a lesson. Ask the pupil's family. They will confirm. Slack pressed hard. You lie. You were angry. You threatened her. Now she nearly dies. But Gavin's voice did not break. Ask them. Ask at once. They will tell you. A constable left. He returned an hour later, his tone firm. The boy speaks true. He was in the village the whole evening. Slack frowned. Then who turned the valve? Silence filled the room. Dorcas clutched her apron. Mrs. Vale leaned back weakly, her voice low. It means one thing. Someone tried again. Marple's gaze swept the room, her eyes steady, her voice quiet. Yes, when death comes once, it seldom walks away. It waits. It returns. It seeks again. Lady Bantry shivered. Then the first was not chance. Not at all. Marple nodded, her eyes on Clover. The bell rang sharp. The sound cut through the silence. Marple whispered. Someone tried again. Voices betray time. The vicar's wife, Mrs. Clement, called at the cottage, her face worried, her hands clasped. She spoke carefully. I remembered something. I thought it mattered. Miss Marple nodded. Please, tell us. Mrs. Clement looked at Mrs. Vale, her voice soft. I passed your garden that afternoon. Just as the church clock struck 3, I heard you. You were counting. Mrs. Vale blinked. Counting? Yes. Counting the cats. 1 to 13. Your voice carried. Clear. I remember it well. Slack frowned. You are certain? Very certain, Mrs. Clement replied. I even thought, how odd to count aloud. But you did. Miss Marple's eyes sharpened. 3 o'clock. You are sure of the hour? Quite sure, Mrs. Clement answered. The clock had just finished striking. Lady Bantry leaned forward. But Pratt died around then. How could she be outside counting if she was in the parlour? Mrs. Vale gasped. You mean... Marple raised a hand gently. Think. You were with your cats. Outside. Your voice was heard. So you could not have been in the parlour with Pratt. Slack scowled. Yet the door was locked. The body inside. Who locked it then? Mrs. Clement shook her head. I only know what I heard, but I am certain it was her voice. Miss Marple tapped her fingers slowly. A voice proves presence, and absence too. One cannot be in two places at once, Dorcas whispered. Then she is cleared. Mrs. Vale's eyes filled. Do you mean it? I am not suspected? Slack grumbled. Cleared of presence, yes, but not of knowledge. Someone still gained from Pratt's death. Lady Bantry frowned. Yet, if she was outside, who was in the parlour? Marple's face grew thoughtful, her eyes fixed on the bell round Clover's neck. It rang faintly. A wrong note again. She whispered half to herself. 13 counted. 1 did not belong. 1 was planted. Mrs. Clement looked uneasy. Do you think I misunderstood? Marple shook her head. Number you remembered well. The timing clears her, but it condemns another. Slack leaned forward. Then who? If not her, then who? Marple's lips pressed thin. She did not answer directly. Her eyes returned to the window latch, to the sardine oil test proven true, to the ledger with dates changed, to the collar replaced. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Then who was with Pratt? The words hung heavy. No one replied. Mrs. Vale trembled. Her relief mixed with dread. She was free of blame, yet someone else bore it. Someone close. Marple whispered again. Then who was with Pratt? 7 becomes 13. Miss Marple asked for the saucers. Dorcas laid them out. 13 in a row. Each dish numbered by hand. Marple bent over them. Her eyes narrowed. Her finger traced along the rims. She paused at 1. Saucer 13. The number dark, but under it, faint marks. The shadow of a 7. Marple spoke softly. This was not always 13. Dorcas frowned. It must have worn. I renumbered once or twice. Marple shook her head. Number. Someone changed it. Intentionally. Mrs. Vale stiffened. But why? What difference does it make? Marple lifted the saucer. She turned it to the light. The 7 was clear beneath. It had been scratched out, written over. Marple set it down. Her gaze shifted to Clover. The cat crouched nearby. Her bell chimed sharp again. Marple reached forward. Her fingers touched the collar tag. The number engraved there. 13. She rubbed gently. Faint scratch marks below. The metal filed. Number 7 beneath. Lady Bantry gasped. You mean Clover was not 13? Marple nodded once. She was given another's place, another's number. Dorcas whispered. But the collars came from Dr. Cardew. He said Clover must be marked. Marple's eyes lifted. Yes, he supplied collar and bell. He gave them to Dorcas. He insisted Clover wear them. Mrs. Vale clutched her chair. Her voice trembled. Dr. Cardew. He has always cared for my cats. Marple spoke slowly. He did more than care. He arranged. He provided a collar with a false tag. He covered a saucer with a false number. He planted Clover into the order. Slack scowled. Nonsense. Cats are cats. Numbers do not kill, Marple replied firmly. Numbers place, numbers hide. If Clover was not 13, then who was meant to be? Silence spread. Dorcas shook her head. I never questioned it. I only did as told. Marple touched Clover's collar again. The bell rang. Still wrong. Still sharp. The false note carried. She let the silence settle. Her voice softened. When order is broken, truth struggles to breathe. Even a small change tells of design. Mrs. Vale lowered her head. Her voice cracked. All my care, all my rules. Yet even here, deceit crept in. Marple rested her hand gently on the saucer, her eyes thoughtful. 7 became 13, not by chance, by choice, by someone's plan. She lifted her gaze slowly, her tone quiet, steady. Clover was never number 13. The words fell, leaving every face pale, and the bell at Clover's neck rang once more, harsh and false. Cats cannot lie. Feeding time again. The saucers ready. The bells ringing. 12 cats went to their places. 12 bells chimed in harmony. Clover stayed behind. She sniffed. She turned away from the sardine dish. Mrs. Vale frowned. She refuses sardines again. She always does. Dorcas muttered. Strange creature. The others never refuse. Miss Marple nodded slightly. She is not like them. Clover padded toward the hearth. A pouch of flea powder lay nearby. Valerian inside. She rolled against it, her body twisting, her eyes glazed. Lady Bantry whispered. She is bewitched by the stuff, Marple said softly. Not bewitched. Drawn. Valerian rules her. Sardines do not. The room grew quiet. Only Clover's bell rang. High. Harsh. Wrong. Marple studied the others. Each cat steady, each bell soft, each dish taken, order perfect, except Clover. Dorcas shook her head. She unsettles them. They stare at her. They hiss sometimes. Marple's eyes narrowed. Cats cannot lie. They show what is strange. They reveal what is false. Slack snorted. Still a cat. Nothing more. Marple ignored him. Her thoughts drew together. Ledger changed. Collar replaced. Bell wrong. Sardine oil latch. Valerian pouch. Piece by piece. The pattern formed. She turned to Lady Bantry. Cardew brought Clover. He placed her here. Not as gift. As tool. Lady Bantry gasped. You mean he used her? Yes, Marple said firmly. He knew her habits. He knew she ignored sardines. He knew Valerian bound her. He used her to mislead. While others looked at her, he moved unseen. Mrs. Vale's face crumpled. Dr. Cardew. I trusted him. Marple's voice softened. Trust is often the cloak of harm. He placed Clover as cover. He altered saucer and collar. He made 13 when there were only 12. Slack frowned. But why all this? Why not strike and be done? Marple's eyes fixed on him. He needed time. He needed confusion. He used Clover to distract. A wrong bell. A restless cat. While everyone noticed her, he acted. Dorcas whispered. So the locked room, the window latch, all planned? Marple nodded. Planned with precision. Clover was the mask. Cardew was the hand. The cats finished their meal, all except Clover. She rolled again, lost in Valerian. Her bell clashed one more time. Marple stood, her face calm, her decision set. It is time, she said quietly. The pattern is clear. Now I must prepare the trap. Lady Bantry asked, What trap? Marple only shook her head, her voice gentle. A trap that will show the truth. Cats cannot lie. Men can, and men will. She turned to the door and whispered, Tomorrow, he will reveal himself. Truth waits at feeding time. Miss Marple called them all together. Mrs. Vale sat pale in her chair. Lady Bantry stood close by her side. Inspector Slack waited, arms folded. Dr. Haydock leaned against the mantel. Dr. Cardew arrived last, composed. The cats gathered near the door. Their bells rang lightly. Dorcas Finch held the saucers ready, Marple's voice steady. Let them eat. Watch closely. Dorcas placed the dishes, 1 to 13. The cats hurried forward. Bells chimed in turn. 12 notes true, 1 note false. Clover hesitated. She padded to saucer 7, stopped, then moved to 13. Her bell rang sharp. The others turned to stare. Lady Bantry gasped. She changed again. Marple nodded. Because 13 was never hers. She was once 7, Dorcas whispered. But the collar says 13. Marple lifted Clover's collar. She turned the tag. Scratch marks plain. 7 cut away. 13 engraved over. Mrs. Vale covered her mouth. Her eyes filled. All these months, I never saw. Slack grunted. Interesting. But what does it prove? Marple spoke calmly. It proves placement. It proves deceit. And now, I will show you more. She walked to the window. She held a dish of sardines. She rubbed oil along the latch, then stepped back. One of the cats leapt forward, its tongue pressed against the catch. Once, twice. The latch dropped. The window locked. Gasps filled the room. Lady Bantry cried, "Just as you said." Slack's face darkened. So the latch. It was never shut by hand. Marple turned. "Exactly. The cat did it. But someone planned it. Someone used the habit." Pratt was struck. The room staged. The latch locked by a cat. "Doctor," Haydock muttered. "Incredible, yet undeniable." Marple's eyes swept the room. Her voice softened. "Someone here brought Clover. Someone arranged her collar, her saucer, her false number. Someone ensured the bells confused us." Dorcas whispered. "Dr. Cardew brought them. Always him." Cardew stiffened, his smile thin. "Routine care, nothing more." Marple shook her head. "Number it was more. You planted Clover. You altered the ledger. You replaced the collar. You misled her mistress. All for gain." Mrs. Vale gasped. Her hands trembled. "You? Hugh? You?" Slack stepped forward. "Are you accusing him, Miss Marple?" Marple looked straight at Cardew, her eyes steady, her tone certain. "I am." The room fell silent. Only the bells echoed. 12 soft notes, one harsh. Miss Marple lifted her hand and pointed at Cardew. "The vet breaks." All eyes turned to Dr. Cardew. The bells fell, silent. Only Clover's note clashed. Slack barked. "Answer her. Did you do it?" Cardew's voice rose fast. "Absurd. Ridiculous. I cared for those cats. I served Mrs. Vale faithfully. This is slander." Marple's tone stayed calm. "You replaced Clover's collar. You altered her saucer. You doctored your ledger. You knew the sardine oil trick. You alone had access to it all." Cardew's face hardened. "You accuse with scraps of detail. Nothing solid, nothing binding." Marple's eyes stayed steady. "Scraps make a pattern, and patterns tell the truth." "Mrs. Vale whispered, "Say it is false. Say it." Cardew turned to her sharply. "I gave my time, my skill, my loyalty, and you reward me with suspicion," Marple said quietly. "And with money. That is what you wanted. Control of her estate. You guided her to will it to your hospital. You made yourself heir in disguise." Lady Bantry gasped. "You mean he sought it all?" Cardew snapped. "Why should it go to strangers? Why to that feckless boy Gavin? I would have used it well. Better than any of them." Slack stepped closer. "So you admit motive?" Cardew's voice faltered. He looked down. His hands trembled. "I never meant it this way. Pratt would not agree. He said the law must be followed. He threatened to undo it. I lost control." Mrs. Vale cried softly. "You struck him?" Cardew's shoulders sagged. "Yes, I struck him. The brass piece was near. He fell at once. No struggle. It was over before I thought." Dorcas covered her face. "God help us." Slack pressed on. "And the locked door? The window? Explain that." Cardew swallowed. "I smeared sardine oil on the latch. I left Clover inside. I knew she would lick it. She did. The latch snapped shut. When they broke the door, it looked sealed. Perfect." Lady Bantry shuddered. "So neat. So cold." Marple's eyes softened. "You used a creature's habit to hide your crime." "She knew nothing. She is innocent. Only you twisted her place." Cardew's voice cracked. "I only wanted order. Security. I thought I deserved it. Years of service, and nothing to show. I thought no one would see." Marple's reply was quiet. "Truth always shows. Cats cannot lie. Only men lie. And lies end here." Cardew dropped into a chair. His head bowed. His hands covered his face. His voice low. "Yes, I staged it all. Clover was my cover, and I would have had it all, if not for her bell." The room fell into silence. Mrs. Vale sobbed quietly, her world shaken, her trust shattered. Slack stepped forward, voice sharp. But what about the condolence card? Order hides lies. The confession ended. Cardew sat slumped, his voice gone, his face hollow. Slack closed his notebook. He muttered, "It fits. Every part fits." Miss Marple stood calm. Her eyes moved to the papers. The condolence card lay on top. She picked it up. "Pratt discovered the scheme," she said. "He saw Clover's wrong collar. He knew the saucer had been changed. He found the bell replaced. He left this card as warning. His words were plain, not all cats are counted." Lady Bantry shivered. "So he tried to signal before it was too late." Marple nodded. He could not finish the codicil. Cardew struck him first, then staged the room. The window locked itself. "The rest we know." Slack tapped his pen. "And the bells? Explain them." Marple's tone was steady. 13 bells sounded, but one did not belong. Clover's bell clashed. That note gave her away. It was the false tone, the sign that something was planted. Dorcas whispered, "I heard it too. I thought it nothing." Marple's face softened. Small things rarely seem large, yet they carry the truth. Mrs. Vale leaned back weakly, her eyes wet. "I trusted him. I let him guide me. And he betrayed me in my own home." Gavin stepped forward, his voice low. "Aunt, I was bitter, angry. But I never wished you harm. I only wished to be seen." Her hand reached for his. "You are angry, yes, but you are blood. You are still mine." Lady Bantry sighed. "At least the truth is plain now. No more shadows." Marple glanced at her gently. "Truth is plain, yes, but never light. It weighs on all who hear it." Dr. Haydock cleared his throat. "Then the case is ended. The law will take him." Slack nodded. "Quick work, Miss Marple." "I did not see it. I'll admit that." Marple said nothing more. Her gaze went to Clover. The cat sat apart. Her bell still rang harsh, a sound that broke the order. Marple whispered softly, "One false note always tells the truth." The room fell into silence. Each face carried its own burden. Relief, regret, shame, yet also gratitude. Mrs. Vale closed her eyes, her voice faint. "I lived by order, by routine. I thought it safe. Yet deceit crept in. Even order can hide lies." Marple's eyes softened, her voice reflective. "Order comforts us, but we must listen when it falters, for hidden there lies warning." She gazed at Clover once more and repeated, "One false note always tells the truth."